see those guys at the combine deciding to your guys get this weekend?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to watch those guys. I thought all 4 guys had a pretty good day. I talked to JoJo after he ran, and I had a little FaceTime with Cam last night, Cam Taylor-Britt. So excited for those guys. It's awesome to see them, perform well on a big stage.
You get a lot of teams call you, just about the draft process about those guys.
Yeah, a lot of guys call, but throughout the season and preseason camp, just about every team comes, multiple times to watch practice, and then they in-person talk to me, the position coaches, sometimes the guys, whatever they need to do, and then they'll have some follow-up stuff, pre-draft that they might want to call back about.
Hey, a week into practice, Chins, what was your objective during that period, and did you feel like you accomplished it?
For the first week?
Yeah.
Our first week was, to get a big chunk of base install in, and then today we had a little third down period, so we had to get some of the just basic third down, mechanisms in. So I think, moving through that first week was teaching the new guys the system, getting a big chunk of install in. I know there's a big chunk. We threw it at them pretty heavy. For some of the guys, it's no big deal. It's old hat, but for a lot of these new guys, they're swimming a little bit in that thing. So we want to get everything in, and then we'll dial it back and detail everything.
What's the biggest thing you have to do to get everybody on the same page?
I think number one is just the communication. And some of these new guys, the way that we practice, things are moving pretty fast and furious. It's, do I get lined up? And then can I communicate with whoever I need, whether it's linebackers to D-line, whether it's safety to safety, safety to corner, safety to outside linebacker, whatever the case may be. It's just getting your feet set in the ground, getting your eyes where you're supposed to be, and then being able to verbalize what your job is.
How do you feel guys are assimilating all this information? Because you just said the big information dump.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think there's 2 separate entities right now. There's a group that's been here, that the new stuff isn't really new. It's just, they've heard the word so many times. And then there's, some incoming freshmen, some transfer, some junior college guys that they've never heard anything. They've never heard us teach technique. They've never heard us teach a drill, and they're getting this big chunk of install. So I think that those guys are a little bit behind as far as schematic stuff. And to me, we will catch them up with that. I just want to see them move around, and I want to see them go hard and not be afraid to make a mistake right now. So they have a little bit of catching up to do, but we'll get there.
How's Kolarvik taken to the nickel?
Yeah, he's done a good job out there. I had no idea how that was going to go, but he's done a good job out there so far. It's been really nice to see him being out there in space and being fluid, and I think we'll get a little bit of more man coverage in as we keep moving through the install, and we'll see how he does with some man coverage. But everything else, he's done a really good job so far.
Does he have a skill set that is complementary or different, or what do you have to do to, you coach him versus Isaac or Jalen? How do those guys, how do they differ in their ability to play that position?
I don't think they differ much. It's just, technique-wise, body type. You talk about Javen Wright, he can. He could touch you from here, so it's a little different space, ability, alignment. Where do I need to be? Apex plus, apex minus. Playbook might say apex minus, but you're long enough, you can walk out there a little bit farther. So it's just getting those guys comfortable with their bodies and getting comfortable with space. Otherwise, they're all the same, but you gotta use their ability a little bit differently.
Where did how could Gifford raise his game, and what were you looking for from him to go to another level?
Yeah, Isaac's done a really good job. Isaac studies the game. He studies the film. He knows where to be. For him, it's probably just going to be able to make that play a little bit quicker. He's never going to make a really. Everybody makes a mental error, but that's not his game. That's not what he does. But he needs to see those plays happen and boom, just be able to jump on them a little quicker. And that's how I think he ups his game.
Last week, Fisher said Marquise Buford could be kind of a hidden gem in that room. And I know he's a versatile guy. Did you sense coming out of prep school that he had some maturity and has he kind of been what you hoped he would be as a recruit?
Yeah, he's been exactly what we thought he'd be. His prep school coach we knew very well. We knew that he was going to have great character. All the intangibles were going to be there. Then we just had to get him out here and see what he could do. And so far, he's met and exceeded the expectations. He's playing some corner, some nickel. Some corner, some safety. So he's doing a lot of different things for us, and I think that he's going to be able to help the football team a lot.
At what point with that secondary do you want to figure out sort of the puzzle? Is that still a long ways away? Is that something you want by the end of spring? Or?
Maybe. There's still a lot of time. I mean, you got 2 scrimmages before the spring game that are probably going to tell a big-time story. Everybody looks good when we're tagging off, but when you got to tackle somebody to the ground, that tells a little different story. So we'll get a better picture after those scrimmages.
When is the first scrimmage?
I think the first one is maybe Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Were you guys able to be in pads on Saturday, or was it the first day?
No, we were in pads on Saturday.
Okay. So with those young defensive linemen, I know Dawson talked last week about how those guys can't be young anymore. Talking about the redshirt freshmen, Newsome. Have you seen an increase or some different kind of urgency from them coming out this spring?
Yeah, there's a different urgency, and also they're taking a huge workload. There's just not at that position. There's not a ton of depth right now, just by sheer numbers. So those guys are taking a ton of reps, and I think it's good for them. It's been hard on them. They've been really tired and they've been gassed, but it's been really good for them. And we get a lot of reps and we get a lot of film to watch with those guys. But they have had a sense of urgency.
With Marquise, is there a timeline that you want to have kind of decided where you want to put him, or is that ongoing?
No, I think the more that he can learn, especially some of those guys that are very high learners, the more that he can learn, the better he'll know whatever position he's at. And like Coach Fish, we were talking, and it doesn't make sense to not have him cross-train when he already is doing a really good job at it. That way, if somebody goes down, he can move over. We can slide the next best guy in. We don't have to say, well, the next best guy is the corner, but it's really the 5th guy should be the safety. We can move him around and kind of make that thing work.
When you say high learning, what does that mean?
What's that?
When you say high learning, what does that mean?
Yeah, just he's got a high level of learning. Some of these guys, there's all different kinds of learners. There's different guys learn differently. Some learn off the film, some learn off the walkthrough, some learn on the playbook. Marquise learns it all, and he's got a higher learning, a little bit like Markel DeSmuke, where it's not just where do I line up in cover 3, where do I go. It's understanding what's the issues, what's the spacing, what's my other guys doing around me. And I think once you can get to that level, then you can become a really good football player.
Is Colton Feist the guy who could maybe people don't talk about as much, but could really help that down?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Feist did a great job last year. Coach, he played on special teams for us, and he got injured last year a little bit. I thought he was going to have a really good year last year, and I think that he'll have a really good year this year, but he's going to be one of those guys that's going to really help that defensive line.
Fisher said he wanted his guys to tackle better. That's secondary. That was going to be an emphasis. Have you guys tackled yet? Have you gotten a sense of that?
No, we've done some tackle drills, but we haven't tackled live in a period yet, so we haven't seen that yet.
With the offense continuing to kind of figure itself out with new coaches, new schemes, how much does that affect what you guys do on the other side?
I don't think it affects what we do, but it's been nice to see a bunch of different stuff. Every time that you run a route versus cover 3 or quarters or whatever, every time we see a new concept, that's something that the kids have to adjust to. That's something that we have to coach through, especially if we haven't seen it yet. So it's been really good to see all the different passing concepts they have, some of the new running concepts, some of the new formations. That's really good for us to see because that only makes us better throughout the year.
What is your impression of these new quarterbacks that you got?
Yeah, I mean, so far they've done a really nice job from my end looking at them. But sometimes I don't even know which quarterback's in there because I got too much other stuff going on. But I thought they've done a really nice job throwing the ball down the field. They've done a really nice job keeping themselves alive in the pocket. And, I haven't seen them throwing very many wild balls around out there. So that's really good. So far, so good, I think.
You guys have had 3 on-campus recruiting events since January 22nd. I mean, how much further do you feel like you're ahead than maybe where you were a year ago just by having these types of events on campus?
Yeah, I think, with the combination of, no COVID and us being able to be out in schools in the fall and in the winter time and then this spring and then being able to get guys on campus, we're so much farther ahead than what we were last year at this time.
Those events are I know they're big for every school, but how much bigger are they at a place like Nebraska?
Well, I think it's huge at Nebraska because, when you can get a guy on campus and get him to Lincoln, that's the biggest selling point we have, just to be around the people available, to be in this stadium, to be in these facilities. Getting a guy on campus here it's a make or break deal.
You talk about those D linemen and the workload. Do you have to watch that close?
Yeah, and Coach Duval, they wear the little GPS things, and so we get a little workload report every practice, and he does a pretty good job of monitoring that. Now we're in a situation where you can't really pull a guy back, but we may have to change a little bit of the drills or change the rotation based on what kind of player load they had in the previous practices.
What's the key to finding success as an undersized defensive back?
What's undersized?
Well, you know, if you're giving up a few inches, it depends on your matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just if you look at all the guys in the Pro Bowl in the last few years, just about there hasn't been. I don't know. There might be. You guys check my facts, but there's not very many guys over 5'10". So once again, what's undersized? I don't know. When you look at defensive backs, you know, I think that there was a phase where everybody wanted these giants, but how many of those guys have succeeded on Sunday? So I don't think there's necessarily an undersized level. It's just, to me, there's a line of demarcation. Like, you know, are you around that 5'10" range? You're big enough. You know, you're not undersized at that point. But your movement skills got to be really good, and you also have to have some arm length, right? So you see all these successful guys, the guys that are a little shorter, they mostly have a big wingspan or a long arm length. So I think that undersized, I don't know if I buy into all that.
Good, guys?
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.